G'day guys, Mr. Oz Adventure here, and we're coming at you today in the start of this video from the absolutely glorious Ted's Beach on Lake Pedder in Tasmania's southwest wilderness. If you didn't see the previous two videos, I encourage you to go back and watch them now as I ride out through some absolutely stunning areas to Gordon Dam and camp at this magnificent place. Oh man, I really loved my time out there at Lake Pedder and Gordon Dam. Camping the night on Ted's Beach was glorious, but it was time to continue the travels and see some more of Tasmania. The journey for today was going to take me all the way across the bottom of Tasmania, from the wilderness of the west coast all the way across to the rugged coastlines of the south east of Tasmania to the historical penal settlement of Port Arthur. Along the way, I was going to get to ride this glorious Gordon River road once more in the opposite direction. It was an absolutely stunning day for a ride and just so beautiful seeing all the scenery in the opposite direction. I didn't get all that far up the road. I had to turn around and stop for a photo. It was just too good to pass by. Just so beautiful. After that brief little delay, turned around again and headed back east towards Hobart. But I only got probably a kilometre up the road and I stopped again for yet another photo because there was just too many glorious spots to stop along the way. I could have kept this up for hours, just stopping for photos every now and then along this beautiful stretch of road, but I had to make up some time, and I knew I was filming with multiple cameras anyway. It was a beautiful ride out, but the sun was in my eyes, giving me grief. It was just in the shade, in the sun, in the shade, in the sun. But man, what a beautiful ride. The Gordon River Road, if you haven't done it, is a bucket list road, that is for sure. Before long, I was back into the little town of Medina, where civilization somewhat starts again. You get back into some farming country, little villages dotted here and there. It was such a nice relaxing ride. One of those days where you know you need to make up some ground, but you don't have a specific time where you have to get anywhere. So it was just nice and relaxing, just being on the bike, the sun shining, making my way through unfamiliar territory and just some nice scenic areas. Before I knew it, I was back cruising along the beautiful Derwent River as it winds its way downstream towards Hobart. A couple of days before, I'd ridden alongside this river towards Hobart on the opposite side, so it was great to be riding on this side of the river and checking out the scenery from a different angle. After a while of cruising along the Derwent River, I was starting to hit the outskirts of Hobart City when I turned left over the river and started heading down towards Port Arthur. The great views didn't stop there as I left the Derwent River though. There are multiple waterways everywhere throughout Tasmania. It's beautiful just riding across some of these bridges and causeways. Water, hills, winding roads everywhere you look in Tasmania. There is not a bad road anywhere. Even though this was a fairly decent sized highway, if you like, it was a great little ride right across to Port Arthur. Port Arthur, which was my destination for the day, is located at the southern end of the scenic Tasman Peninsula. The very rugged landscape down there is partly what attracts tourists these days, but back in the day it was what attracted the government to create a convict settlement at Port Arthur. What separates the northernmost end of the Tasman Peninsula from the mainland is a 100 metre wide piece of land known as Eaglehawk Neck. Alright, I'm here at a place called Eaglehawk Neck, which is the narrowest part of the Tasman Peninsula where Port Arthur is located. So the ocean's out there, I've got a bay over the other side of the land there, and you've got this tiny little strip of land, and it's where they had a dog chain set up to stop any convicts escaping via land. There was no way they were going to get past this place at all. Let's just go for a little walk up here and we'll find the dog line. So they just had a chain of dogs which would stop the prisoners from getting past them. The dogs would bark, the officers would hear it, and then they'd come out and arrest any prisoners that were trying to escape. So this is only a very, very thin strip of land. It'd be probably only 100 metres across, if that. And I'm pretty sure a lot of convicts weren't strong swimmers, so they weren't going to swim across anywhere. So there you go, there is the ocean out there. And there is the bay. Yep, that dog would freak me out. So this is where they had the chain across here. A line of 18 dogs extend across the narrow isthmus, who, constantly being kept separate, are the most ferocious. So this area is Eaglehawk Neck, and just over where I've just parked the bike is a place called Pirate Bay. This is the main highway here, but I'm just parked on one of the little side roads over there. I've just come down out of the mountain. Oh man, that was a great ride through there. I saw a sign for a lookout and I took it. The lookout was absolutely stunning, and then it was just off the side of the hill, twisting steep curves. That was awesome. So I had a pretty good ride out here today. Skirted around Hobart and stopped off a few times, and yeah, really good scenery along the way. Yeah, when I stopped at the lookout up there, I was joined by a guy on a red V-Strom, and I've been seeing him for the last hour or so. Just he was pulled over, I rode past, I was pulled over, he rode past, and then he was pulled over again and I rode past, and then finally we end up at the same spot. I thought he was one of our group from the Ostrom meetup, but nope, just a guy from Switzerland travelling around on a borrowed bike. He's been all around Australia, so that was pretty cool. Let's go and have a look in here. So this was the original old quarters of the officers. It was built by convicts in 1832. Ooh, that's quite creepy. Guarding the entrance to the underworld. It was a cruel, desolate place, Port Arthur. I'm going to give you a lot of history of that place over the next little while, because there's going to be lots to see there. I've been looking forward to getting to Port Arthur since I was a kid. It's my 47th birthday tomorrow, and I'm going to be spending it at Port Arthur. Eaglehawk Neck was a fascinating little stop with all its history with the dog chain and everything, and a great introduction on my tour to the convict settlement of Port Arthur. But I still weren't at Port Arthur. I still had another 20-minute ride down along the coast and through the middle of the Tasman Peninsula to get to Port Arthur. It was more of the same that I'd had the last few hours, cruising along waterways, absolutely stunning scenery everywhere, and then some more twisting roads through forest. Just typical Tasmanian scenery. An absolutely beautiful ride in an absolutely beautiful part of the world. I must say, by this stage of the day I was getting pretty excited. I'd been looking forward to visiting Port Arthur for many years. I've always been fascinated with history, and in particular convict history in Australia. Been to a few convict settlements over the years, and Port Arthur is one of the more famous historical sites in Australia for some not really nice reasons. I didn't book any accommodation at Port Arthur. I just winged it, hoping that I would find something there. And luckily they had some availability for me at the Port Arthur Motor Inn, which is conveniently located right next door to the Port Arthur historical site. And not only that, it also has a gate going straight from the motel into the historical site. So as well as the room key letting me into my room, I also had a key to the historical site, the back entrance of it. So after checking into my room and spreading all my wet camping gear out to dry around the place, I set off for a little wander through the back gate into the Port Arthur historical site and to buy my tickets for all the tours the next day. Stay tuned for my adventures the next day, because I've got lots of information coming up about the Port Arthur convict settlement. And maybe a little bit of a ghost tour.
Up here in the chapel, there is definitely something. Definitely something untoward. What are you doing in here?
Whoa!